Today, the session or a large part of it will be dedicated to how we are working with the M&E customers, how we are engaging with the M&E world, what we are learning from the creators of the content, from the distributors of the content, and how through AWS can we enable them to move from point A to point B and grow their business. So, is my presentation displayed properly? You're able to see it, Ron?
Yes, I can see it. And again,
That's
as you
cool.
go through this, when it went through this, even if you're not Netflix or CBS,
Of
this is
course.
framing it, and it's good to
Mhm,
understand what they're doing, but you'll also get good takeaways. And it's
mhm.
consistent very much with Adam's opening comments. This is all about building a modern application, which has to be very video multimedia centric.
Absolutely. And I completely echo the statements that Adam mentioned, that Adam spoke about, and to your point, Ron, that it is not about, even we do want to refer to the Vacoms, the Paramounts, and the Netflixes of the world. It is sheerly to showcase the scale, the art of the possible, and the complexity that lies in engaging with these kind of big name banners. But at the same time, and I was doing this, I was engaging with a very interesting audience yesterday at New York City Loft that AWS has, and the focus was only on startups. And we were looking at the ideas that are germinating from the startups, how we can address them again in the M&E space. And that was a very interesting conversation. So the solutions that we have here, or the ones that we will walk over, is not only to be consumed by the enterprises or the Netflixes of the world. It is democratized for your use cases. So if you want to get started with the least of capex and just with your idea, you're more than welcome to do it. And to that effect, I will also try to run a short demo if I can accommodate that within the 40-minute time frame that Ron has for me, and we will see how it can be, how AWS makes it easy to launch your workflow in a very low code, seamless manner. So with that, let me get started with the agenda. So I would try to give an oversight on the trends in the M&E right now, what we are seeing, and it has changed quite a bit from pre-pandemic to the post-pandemic days. Then how we are enabling the progress through those trends is the AWS part. And in that, I would like to get to the demo. And finally, I would wrap up the session giving you some ideas on, depending on your use case, how do we engage with AWS with the next steps. So let's get started. So when we are speaking about the trends, let us for a moment pause and think about what are the challenges that the M&E customers are facing today. It doesn't matter the size. So one thing is that we have a surge of content production, especially during the pandemic. And now we have so many bloggers, so many TikTok videos coming up, and then there are opportunities to monetize a lot of that content. So how do we manage all that content? So for a company, say a company which wants to engage with the local artists around the area and who wants to pick up their work and wants to showcase that to a broader set of audience. And when by audience, I truly mean a global audience spread across the geographies over here. Then how do we do that? Do we have an opportunity to build some kind of localization on top of the content? Can we distribute it meaningfully so that the audience, irrespective of their language barriers, can consume it? So these are the things that we are asking ourselves day in and day out. And how do we get to that? So content production, supply chain, modernizing your supply chain, and with media, obviously, media storage is a huge space which can grow up exponentially and have a huge cost footprint. So how do we make sense of and how do we optimize the storage for that media? How do we get to our consumers in a more effective way so that I'm not limited if I do not have access to a physical studio? Can I leverage a remote studio? Can I build a remote studio over cloud and then reach out to the customers, to the audiences? Broadcasting, analytics. And so these are some of the areas wherein we, since we are working day in and day out with many customers, we see the problems that are coming out, or rather, I would not label them as problems. These are the opportunities to grow and invest in together. So now, how does AWS help? Well, in terms of services, we have more than 200 plus fully featured services from data centers globally spread across all the regions, and more than, last time I checked, it was 200 points of presence across the globe. And then we have a faster pace of innovation. And we always thank our customers for allowing us to innovate at this pace, because 90% of the services and the features which are developed over at AWS is directly from the customer feedback. So the customer feedback, more so, we always welcome it and we work on it to build the next generation platform and next generation services. So now, touching on that, along with the opportunity to build a service leveraging so many artifacts, so many nuances, we are also paying very close attention to the low code format or to AWS fully managed services. In that way, for a startup organization, it is very easy, irrespective of the talent pool that you have in house. How do you launch your? So you have an idea, bring it to us. We will help you launch it. So that is the mindset that we are going to. So for that, the tech barrier has to be at its minimum. And with our scale, actually, our scale becomes your ability to quickly go global and take advantage of the talent around the world and expand to new opportunities and to new markets. That is one of the most beneficial aspect of engaging with us and building your use cases with AWS. We do provide one of the most secure, most flexible, and secure cloud computing environment that is available, and we have all kind of security validations which are available with us and through AWS artifacts, which can be show that you keep your customers, you keep your data safe, irrespective of whether you are using our fully managed services, which are driven by AI/ML, and I will touch largely on those services as we go through the presentation today. You have the essentially a sense of security in your mind that your data is not being misused in any whatsoever way. And to support our engagement with our customers, we have a huge and a very vibrant partner community. And Adam was speaking from one of our premier partners, and I think that his use case solely, or rather, it reiterates our commitment to the community. So now, taking from there, let us focus on the AWS media services and the products. So we have the most purpose-built and cloud offerings to help with our media and entertainment customers that you can possibly think of. So we are categorizing them in broadly in two areas. One is the content creation, and the other is content distribution. So when it comes to content creation, we facilitate, as I was referring to the physical restrictions of accessing a physical studio all the time. Through Nimble Studio, we accelerate the content creation itself in the cloud. We have product service offerings like ThinkBox, Deadline, ThinkBox Frost, and ThinkBox Stoke and Xmesh, which actually enable you to create your content in a most optimal manner in cloud through AWS managed services, in which you are really not concerned about the resiliency of your deployments. You are not concerned about the scalability constraints. You are not concerned about availability, because behind the scene, under a shared responsibility model, AWS does quite a bit of heavy lifting on the infrastructure side. So you are, as a customer, when you are using the fully managed services of AWS, you are concerned about the functionality that you can render to your end users or to your audience. And to that effect, content distribution is a large area of focus. So we have content distribution services which are not only reliable, flexible, and providing a secure layer, but it also gels very well with the other partner or other industry leading products that we have there. For example, we do work with the wide wine. We do work with a host of solutions on the DRM space, for example, which Apples of the world and Microsoft of the world have. Now, again, this is a quick snippet on the partner community that we have in the M&E space, and many of you will have some familiar names out here. And now, let me go to the AWS Solutions Library. So Right now, before this one, we were focused on services that AWS products, which can help, which you can use as per your use case, and which through which you can maybe use those as Legos, as building blocks to build a solution. But as we see that, that is definitely one aspect. And the other aspect is that can we pre-bake something? Can we provide to our customers based on some generic requirements, a solution, a templated solution, which they can really launch, say and it is especially useful for a startup mindset, a startup organization, that we can have that one-click launch facility which has been reviewed to well-architected framework through well-architected framework, and then which will have the agility and also the flexibility to expand. So these templates, these solutions that we have are not production ready. I will put that disclaimer, but at least they will give you a view of the functionality that it can help achieve, and then you can fine tune these templates, put in your unique requirements, make it secure, and then deploy it in your production environments after thorough testing, of course. So having said that, let us see what are some of those solution areas. So the entire M&E use cases we have broadly classified into five categories in terms of solution, or you can call them solution areas. The one fits in with content production, followed by media supply chain, then through broadcast, then direct to consumer streaming, and the one that I would be touching upon in the bit in details is the data science and analytics part. Right now, we see this is the world of personalized consumption. My Netflix recommendation cannot be same as my friends. I have a unique preference, and I will only pay the Netflix subscription fee, for example, if I have the content being shown to me which are aligned to my choices or to my viewing pattern. So that is just one example, but we can bring about personalization in almost in everything that we consume, be it your Amazon shopping cart or be it in your Paramount or media libraries or audio podcasts and whatnot. So now coming to the content production, yes, the what we hire is that we have to meet the higher consumer demand for content, which requires more exclusive rendering of the content, more exclusive, more opportunities to produce content at a faster rate. Then while we are looking to scale up, we are also cognizant about will it how much my cost is being impacted through it. Are we also focusing on cost reduction as we're trying to scale up? The per unit cost has to decrease. And thankfully with cloud, we have seen that not only the pay as you model, but as you expand your usage of specific services, you qualify through different tiers, and those tiers ultimately allow you to optimize your cost. And then this with the support of for content production, remote and virtual production, as I already was mentioning. So that is of crucial importance. A globally dispersed remote workforce, and then the working environments are all remote. So how we can accelerate the progress of content production through all these remote workforce possibilities that they provide us with. So now going a little bit into this solutioning side of the content production. So we have examples of AWS elemental services, which are squarely focused on producing content at a faster pace. You can create content faster. You have the ability to collaborate with your global talent seamlessly. You can launch your video editing, your graphics intensive virtual workstations, and have a team of your developers or a team of your focused SMEs look at it. Doesn't matter which region they are falling in, they have the equal level of access to your work streams, to your workflows. You can run latency sensitive applications using compute, storage, database, and core infrastructure services. And then you also have the ability, think about it, you can bring on remote artists, doesn't matter from where, and you can actually democratize the content from your local artist across the globe. Just focus on for an M&E customer, we offer them the capability to just focus on content creation. Do not worry about the infrastructure and the distribution part. So you have the possibility of eliminating the overhead of managing all this infrastructure and rather focus on your creative juices. And once again, to that effect, I would call out the partner networks with whom we have very successful engagement. Now, National Geographic, if you are seeing my example, the deck over here, National Geographic is one of the customers of AWS, and they had a huge volume of content. It was dating back to the 1880s, and they wanted to bring it all over to categorize, to label it, and then keep it ready for video on demand or for other kind of consumptions to their end subscribers. So now think about it, a content which is created in 1880, probably petabytes of data that had to be evaluated and categorized and then had to be provided to the audience. So that was a huge task which would have taken years, if months, if not years of manual intervention to go through the content and to then create some metadata on top of it. So in that space, we have what we call content enrichment services. That you give us content, you give us a raw audio file or a raw image file. What we will do is that we will generate metadata on top of it and then create filtering mechanisms on top of it on categorizing that metadata into different buckets so that when you are trying to monetize that content, that makes sense. So I want to see videos on a specific topic. I should be able to get that really easily. I have an say appreciation for a specific celebrity. I should be able to see the content that has been created by that celebrity or that celebrity is part of that. So those are the options. So if you're seeing my screen now, if you can please go into this link, and then we can just I can just walk you through a very quick demo of what I meant. So if you see the screen now, then if you come down, you have the ability to launch a template. We are calling it Media to Cloud template. So it is a serverless end-to-end ingest workflow to move your video assets quickly into cloud to generate the associated metadata. And then we will explore the opportunities on how you can monetize that content which is getting enriched through metadata. So you launch it in your AWS console. Then after the launch happens, you will get an output. A cloud formation stack will be deployed in your AWS account. And once that deployment, it typically takes about 20 to 25 minutes to deploy the cloud stack. And once it is CloudFormation stack, and once it is deployed, you will get output as an URL, which will have your application. So you will be exposed to a dashboard without this content, of course, to a dashboard which will primarily look like this. And then you have an opportunity to upload your own videos to it. Say, I did upload few of the videos which are obviously copyrighted and by AWS. So now let's take a look into it, what I can achieve out of this. So for example, let us look at this video, which is an Alexa Super Bowl ad and which has a bunch of celebrities in it. So as soon as you upload this video into this portal, what you will do is you will get a bunch of metadata through which you can classify this. Now, me go to the celebrity and say I'm choosing Anthony Hopkins, just like that. And then when I choose Anthony Hopkins, I'm interested to find out that where does Anthony Hopkins appear in this video. So let me do this. I choose Anthony Hopkins over here, and I see the places in which Anthony Hopkins appears. These are the pointers, the timestamps in which you will have Anthony Hopkins on screen. I click one of them, and here is Anthony Hopkins. So this is, again, sorry for that. This is one of the ways in which and all it took was about 25 minutes of one-click launch for a solution like Media to Cloud, the link that I shared with you, to make sense of my content, to categorize my content. I have the possibility of moderation also. Say, I have another content in which I have alcohol being displayed, right? So, and I want to moderate that content. So what do? I choose alcohol and I identify the scenes which are with alcohol, and now I have the ability to redact that content from my target audiences. So this is how typically the templated solution works. And now I will go back to my presentation. Just give me a second. Yeah, I hope I'm back there. Yeah. So now look at, I have a couple of use cases. Yes, I'm starting off with Netflix, but again, as I said, it is not due to a preference with the enterprise customers only, but due to the complexity and scale that they bring. So they wanted to, as we know, that they wanted to be a leading producers of VFX, and VFX, as we know, is a very compute intensive requirement. So how do we do that? We collaborate with our partners. We have nice DCV, which allows desktop cloud visualization softwares, which runs on Amazon EC2, on AWS EC2, and which we can render content, which can allow the producers of that content, who the special effect SMEs, the special effect developers can work and really render content at a very fast pace. If you see how this enabled, there are instances which are there to do that heavy lifting. We have memory intensive instances, we have compute intensive instances, we have instances which are to support your VFX workload through graphics, support for graphics. So you bring it to us, and most likely you have a solution to leverage. And now, similarly, as we were speaking about the content enrichment that happens through added metadata and content, we also have ways to optimize the media supply chain intensively. So decades old media archives stored in tape libraries, referring back to the Nat Geo example that I mentioned, and then you make it ripe for international distribution. Along with, you have the option of localizing content. You have the option of making that content durable, because as you load the content into AWS, we use the native capabilities, the infrastructure resiliency across within a specific region or across regions to have really least distribution time and a very high dependable durability that you get. Now, some of the services that are in those space of media supply chain are media convert, recognition. Recognition is again a very powerful tool which is driven by AI ML, and it can help to analyze your video and images pretty much in the same format that we saw with the media to cloud example, and it can help you deliver it. Then we also, with S3 and Glacier, you have the ability to as your content gets older and older, you have the ability to optimize your saving cost if you are using Glacier. So with Glacier, you have an archival solution of storing it. You have an option of cataloging your content, but at the same time, your cost gets optimized. And then another interesting use case that I would want to focus on, Viacom CBS, which is right now known as Paramount Global. So they had very much siloed platform as an enterprise would have as it grows inorganically over a period of time. And they wanted to bring the content that is siloed over to different orgs within their banner and really make a centralized library. And through that content, then again allow the end users to get access to personalized content. So the solution that they built upon was Amazon Recognition to get data from those metadata frames that we are generating, and then use that to a custom labeling, which was powered by Amazon SageMaker, in again one of our AIML solutions, and then use the entire suite of elemental media services to stream the events, to stream the VOD, the live content across to their end user. So whatever be your use case, possibly we have a solution in that space, and if not, we are ready to work backwards with you to develop that solution. So what are now the trends in the broadcast? So we have a definite trend, the trend of acceleration to movement to cloud, to convergence of the broadcast workloads with OTT, with over-the-top distribution, internet power distribution. And these are all, we see that different producers of this content are really competing for the eyeballs. The consumer, I will say the engagement can swap or can switch within seconds. So unless and until you have those personalized recommendations coming up to the consumer, which is the consumer can really connect to, you will see that your user engagement is falling off the charts. And whether you are an enterprise customer or whether you are a startup, one thing that you want always to leverage is the user engagement part. The more time the user is engaged with your product, the likelihood of the business growing and more avenues coming up will be higher. And for to that, all of these services are driven by pre-baked AIML models, which we are continuously improvising to give you that option of delivering contents in a personalized manner. Now, what are some of the specific broadcast focused services that we have? And again, it comes to the Elemental suite. We have Elemental Live, we have Media Connect, and AWS for this reason has been the leading choice of broadcasters, big and small. So we have enterprise customers who are running about 1,600 channels with us. We have the Fox, the Viacom, CBS, and the Disney part and Discover partner with us. We have more than 25 partner ISVs for broadcast technologies only. And we have seen that in the broadcast world, there is still a huge reliance on the on-premise infrastructure. But our partners have solutions which span from on-prem as well as to cloud. So as your use case gets optimized for movement into cloud, and as you are planning to optimize or as you are going through your digital transformation journey, these partners are the instrumental factors which help you to bring along with AWS from the on-premise world into AWS and into your cloud. So you get the unmatched performance, the quality, while you reduce costs and you increase your the agility. So Fox was pretty much in the same note. It had a lot of content on its on-premise data centers, and with the tools that AWS provides, we made it possible to ingest at scale, to transcode the content at scale, and then deliver it or render it to their end users. So if you see this example that we moved close to about 2,000 assets to Tubi in 2 hours, that is one of the benefits of having in cloud. And then you are not hindered by the capex cost of using all that compute or all that network facilities. You just you have a pay by usage model, pay per pay as you use, and that is the added benefit that you only scale up or you only add your resources when you really need to. Otherwise, you have a flat requirement and a flat cost. So another trend is the direct to consumer streaming. So driving the engagement with the viewers. Obviously, at times we see that startup media and entertainment customers have a need to distribute content for free, but we know there are no free lunches. So what do we do when we want to increase the audience engagement through free content? We also have to create opportunities for relevant advertisements. No two advertisements can be the same for your users. So if a user has a preference for coffee, probably I need to see something which is associated with coffee makers and so. So again, AWS Elemental suite of services help you with that dynamic advertisement capabilities, which will really understand the content that the user is consuming and provide an opportunity or an avenue to for the advertisers to build in or to put in advertisements which really resonate with that audience group or with that demographics. Now, to that effect, also, these are some of the elemental services which help us to achieve that. And already Adam had mentioned about CloudFront. I will not go into detail. So again, that entails to our global infrastructure that we can reach out to. We have different the edge, I will say edge locations spread out globally. We have a mechanism, the points of presence, to more than 200 plus points of presence in which your latency will be minimal, your scale will be the maximum. And now, my last example for the day is on Peacock. And this is before joining AWS, I was working with Comcast and I was part of the team which we were developing, which was associated with this delivery. And I can tell you that it was one of the biggest success stories, that the entire spectrum of launching Peacock with the volume of content and reaching out to millions of subscribers as soon as it went live, that was a huge thing. And it was possible to a large extent because of the managed services that were leveraged from AWS. So, not to focus on that one, but again, the data science, yes. Now, all of these services, or a majority of the services that we spoke about and that we saw in action, especially around the recognition, they are being powered through AI ML. They are being powered through deep learning, through content, I will say, through models or algorithms which are focused on content analysis. And then we also have the natural language processing capabilities, because if you are thinking, we have another solution in that space called Amazon Comprehend, which can work with your call centers, with your analysts to analyze, to do an audio to speech conversion, and then do the sentiment analysis. For example, we all have been in calls, in customer calls, wherein we felt a need of escalation. We are not satisfied with the response that we are getting. So tools like Amazon Comprehend will come into play. They can real time, they can do an assessment of the customer sentiments based on the conversation that's ongoing, and it can really bridge the gap for you as a customer to connect to a more mature support representative. In that way, the confidence of the audience, of the customer on your company grows. So, and this one is again NBC Universal's. This is a reality OTT platform, closely tied to what we did with Peacock. But again, the rendering of these contents and of this diversified portfolios is possible because of the elemental suite of services that we have, and through the AI/ML investments that we are doing on a constant basis. With that, that's a wrap up, I would say. And if you are considering, or if you are already in AWS, I would be more than happy to know your story and how can AWS help you grow further. So whether you are in production, whether you are an enterprise scale end-to-end functionality, just bring it on to us, and we will be more than happy to engage and leverage your use cases and help you succeed. So again, as next steps, whatever your use case aligns with, bring it to us, and we will be more than happy to support you in your growth objectives. Thank you, everyone.